Hello, welcome back to the workshop here at Stone Mountain Press, where I am still working away at Round Trip Baseball. It may come as a surprise to you folks that are subscribed on YouTube. If the last thing you saw was the video back in May, then you thought, well, that's all over. And at the time, it was. I was giving up on the Dice United model that we had worked on for a year up to that point. After I made that video and tried to give up on this, I found that I couldn't, mainly because there were some neat features that I still wanted to try to capture and have in a baseball game. So the idea, the direction at that time was to try to put results on the player cards and not have so many chart lookups. And so I went that direction, developed 11 archetypes, 77 total tiers, which covered a huge swath of typical baseball players in terms of from low average, high power, high average, low power, various on base percentages, so forth, and pitching, strikeout, fireballers, or more command-oriented technicians. So we, covered a good swath there. It was decent in a lot of ways. I thought it was faster in terms of being able to roll the dice, look right at the player card, get the result, move on, right? So that was good, and had me excited for a while. But as we played it, I found it to be a bit too bipolar, a little too swingy in terms of no action, no action, no action, and then your dice might get in a rut, and bang, you have a huge rally, and there weren't enough innings where you might just get one run scored. Instead, we tended to have lots of zeros, and then bang, a 5-run, 6-run rally, whatever. So as those results started to become more common or better documented, then that kept pushing me more toward a 50-50 model. And what's the point? We've already got Strat, we've already got Ballpark and whatever, Dynasty and those sorts of games. So and I didn't want to go batter centric either. That would be more like Replay or APA. Okay. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe this just isn't going to work. And I was ready to give up again. I didn't do a video. I didn't get all dramatic about it at that time. Instead, I kind of sat back. I thought about the original Round Trip back in the early 90s and how it worked on a sliding scale, and how that sort of approach informed what became Grid Zone, classic Grid Zone, not the turf war version. So, so it's interesting that Round Trip kind of went on to become the Grid Zone, the classic Grid Zone model, which now I'm taking the classic Grid Zone model and sort of applying it back to Round Trip again. And so if you saw the newsletter, I talked about it coming full circle. That's what I was talking about. So now we have a ratings model, which I think is more conducive to creating your own players. It's much easier to just come up with a few numbers that reflect that player's abilities than it is to come up with an entire grid or an array of results on a card that change from season to season. That's kind of messy on one hand, and it's kind of limiting, believe it or not, in another. So what we got now is a new ratings approach, and I've gone more with kind of a Grid Zone kind of approach to this. And so the game kind of starts with these little control tables right here, And I got 3 of them. The one that matters most is the normal control table. The other 2 is for conditions that favor the hitters, maybe a certain ballpark, maybe the wind blowing in a certain direction, or conditions that favor the pitchers, right? So there's these other 2 alternate tables for those outliers, but most of the time things are going to be on the normal control table, which I'll use in a demo here shortly. What does the control table do? It helps you select, well, with a D12 roll, it will select which player and which ability is key to that particular plate appearance. And so that's how Classic Grid Zone works. And also, like Classic Grid Zone, you then take the ability that's listed on the control table, you take that number and you add it as a modifier to a die roll, which is also D12, much, just like Grid Zone. So if I roll, if the player's rating is a 5 and I roll a 6, then the final result, the final chart result, is an 11 for a given ability. So the ability tables are here, all right, and there are 6 of them, 3 for the pitcher, 3 for the batter, and then there's some columns here that refer to the pitcher's fade status. And in other games, it's what you'd call pitcher fatigue. I don't really like that term, so I call it fade here. And fade can be mental, or it can be actual literal physical fatigue. So you go from the control table, you take a certain number from the player's rating, whether it's the pitcher or the batter, and you look up the result on these key action. These are the action charts. All right, also we've got some basic tables for bunting, hit and run. Here's game time conditions, which will be fun to use once we have once you have your league established and you assign certain profiles to a ballpark location. Let's see what else. So here are the fielding charts. I've divided those into field action and field trouble. So action has a certain implication in which these are balls in play, where the fielder is the key to what happens, first of all. And generally speaking, the field action chart is going to give you plays that probably shouldn't be made, but take extra skill, extra effort for the fielder to make that play. So those are good, those are spectacular plays if the fielder makes it. If not, then it's like, well, you can't really blame him. On the other hand, the field trouble chart implies that these are plays that typically should be made. They're not easy, but they typically should be made. And if they're not made, it's an error. All right, so that there's a distinction between those 2 tables. I've gone through iterations where I combined all this, blended it into one chart, and I just find, because of the narrative implication, I prefer to have them separate. All right, what else? And then one of my favorites, some of my favorite features are right here. So this is the clutch chart, and also the jump table and the stealing chart. All right, so the clutch chart is going to zoom in on 2-out situations. Whenever there's 2 outs and a runner on base, and you land on the clutch result on one of these control tables, then you'll go here to the clutch table, or the clutch chart, instead of the key action tables to resolve it. All right, we'll talk about this as we play it. But the thing I like about the clutch table is it will give you a particular count. So you'll know if it's a 1-2 count, a 2-1 count, a full count, whatever. And then it gives you a pitcher ability and a batter ability, and you compare those two, and then that will give you the result. All right. It's kind of like highlight moments. I mean, all of these are highlight moments in a sense, but this is kind of a way of drilling down to get really specific. So as where, I guess you could think of it that the key action tables kind of resolve the whole at bat, which might be what, 10, 11 pitches maybe, or maybe just one. Where the clutch chart, on the other hand, when you drill down on it, it's a key situation, runner on base, 2 out, and you're looking at a specific matchup of specific abilities with a particular pitch count, and so now you're looking at one pitch. This is the result of one important moment. All right, which I think is kind of cool. All right, the jump table, it's pretty similar. I guess it's kind of inspired by Strat and Replay, some mixture of those two in terms of how the stealing works. And just because you call steal doesn't mean that it will automatically happen. It's going to be an out or a caught stealing or a stolen base or whatever. There is also built in here the possibility that the runner will still hold based on what the catcher and maybe even the pitcher are doing. All right, so those are the main charts. Let's see. So something else I use somewhat, this is an option. There's a fact deck, and it's got the different types of outs and hits on it. And so for the most part, it's designed for routine plays in which the fielder is not specifically indicated. So if you go to these fielding charts, the fielders are indicated. You don't need the fact deck there. But if you go elsewhere and it just says a single, then you can look on here and say, oh, okay, that single is hit to left field. And so the fact deck has got left-handed and right-handed results on it, and so you can use it to get that detail if you want it. You don't have to use these if you're just dealing with routine outs. I tend to gloss over those and not look up every detail unless it's a really important high-stakes game and I want to engage in all those little details. What else? So here's how a team looks initially printed on 8.5 by 11, and so each team is 3 pages and 28 players. I think a 12-man pitching staff, and then we ensure that there are 2 players per position. So I like the size of card. It's basically business card size. The downside is that in order to get all the players, enough to flesh out a team, you end up with one sheet with just 4 players on it. I could shrink these cards down, but I don't think I want to. I like them. I like the size. So the extra cutting, the extra page, the extra expense of printing, to me, is worth it, and you are okay to disagree with that. All right. So once they're cut out, a team looks like this. So here's a lineup that I'm about to use in the demo. All right, but that gives you an idea of the scale, and these are on probably 12-point cardstock. Some of the stuff I had printed by a professional commercial print shop, and then some of it, the team cards for now, I had printed it at my local UPS, so it's thinner cardstock, but it's better quality printing than what I can do. Okay, so there you go. That's where Round Trip is now. Let's play an inning or two demo, and you can see how this looks in action. All right, so I'm set up on the table here, went ahead and filled out my score sheet, grabbed a couple fairly average teams. I've got Des Moines and Tulsa from the Heartland Baseball League that I'm developing to come along with the core game. And so in terms of player ratings, if you saw the previous video, then I explained some of this, I think, and some of it hasn't changed. The ratings for pitchers are command, heat, and composure. For batters, it's contact, power, and composure. You can kind of get a sense of how those relate to each other. And the rating scale runs 0 to 9. 9 being 8s and 9s being very rare. And well, 0s and 1s are pretty rare also. So 3 and 4 is considered average. Anything above 4 is pretty good, right? And you get up in the 7 range and you're probably considered great or very, very good at what you do in that particular ability. So you can get a sense here. Alex Cass is the starting pitcher for the home team, Des Moines. And so command, 4. He's kind of average at command. Not bad, not great. Heat, however, he's very good with his fastball and his ability to get strikeouts. And then composure also. So he's got a good mentality, doesn't get too shaken up over things. All right, his counterpart, by comparison, is going to be Ian Dillard for Tulsa. And he's a little better command-wise than Cass. His heat-wise, he can equal him in terms of strikeout ability. But he's not as even keel, shall we say, as Alex Cass is in terms of his mentality. So I think that's kind of neat. You can look at 3 numbers and kind of get that kind of sense about what that player is like. All right, so let's play a little bit and you'll see how it works. We'll start off here. Cass facing center fielder Kurt Chambers to lead off the game. I roll a 2, and batter contact is the key ability. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 6 key action charts. So I'll look at contact. His rating is a 6. So we're going to take that 6 and add it to this D12 result of 1. Terrible roll. So that's a total of 7 on the contact chart, and he pops out. All right. 1 gone. If you want to know where he pops out to, I could look over here for a right-handed batter and see that he popped out to short. All right. Again, the fact deck is optional. I don't use it most of the time. Now, so that's Kurt Chambers. Flip him over. Second man up is Roger Gamble, the shortstop. For Tulsa, I roll a 3. Pitcher's heat, here we go, 7. Plus 11, that's 18. Well, I know with a roll that high and an ability that high, he struck him out. No need to look that up. On the pitcher's heat chart, anything over 15 or higher is a strikeout. So, Gamble down on strikes as Cass dials up his fastball to get him. And this is what I mean about the narrative of it. You don't just get a result, you kind of understand why and how you got that result, which is kind of cool. All right, Alicio Galan. This is a talented, as you can tell by the numbers, left fielder for Tulsa, batting 3rd. The control roll says 10, pitcher's heat again. 11 struck him out, so Cass is in good form, has good command on his fastball, and strikes out 2 of the first 3 men he faces. All right, let's bring up the home team. Here comes Ian Dillard, and the process continues. So Luther Green, these are both right-handed players. Batter contact is 6. 6 plus 12 is 18. That'll be a hit. And yeah, oh, it's not just a hit, it's a double. All right, so Green is on with a double, and he's got speed to spare. He is a 8 on speed. So you'll see how I've numbered these discs, these little wooden discs. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 on opposite sides, all the way across. I left the 9 blank on the other side so that it can be a duplicate. So if you've got 3 runners on and they're all the same speed, you can use this as just sort of a generic fill-in. Okay, enough about that. So Green is on with a double. You know what? With that kind of speed, should we try to steal third? And then you can come home on a simple fly ball. I kind of like that idea. All right, so to do a steal in this game, you roll on the jump table first. And by the way, once you give the green light for a steal, you can't change your mind. So here we go. Whatever happens, happens. Oh, this works out well. All right, so stealing third is a little harder, right? So there's a penalty for that. And however, it's going to be, yeah, it would normally be -2 speed to steal third, making him a 6. However, I rolled a 6 on the jump table, and that says good timing, +1 to speed. So he is actually a 7 for this particular attempt. So there's a 7 column on the chart, on the steal chart, and I roll an 8, and he should be safe. Yes, he's safe. Slides in there. So we have a double and a stolen base for Luther Green to lead off the game, and Des Moines is in business here. All right, where's my other die? All right, now, man on third, nobody out for Dominic Sharp. I'm not going to worry about trying to squeeze or anything here. Pitcher's command is the control roll. His command is 5. And we add, 11, 16 on pitcher's command is a strikeout. Perfectly placed pitch right when he needed it. And that means that Luther Green cannot move off of third. So Tom Emerson, very talented catcher here for Des Moines, is up next. 1 out, 1 on. 6. Batter's power. His power is 5 plus 7. 12 is the final result. And he's a righty. He's a righty. So there's a lefty-lefty strikeout on here, but these are not lefty-lefty. Therefore, it is a single plus. Run scores, and Emerson has the option here to try to stretch this to a double, but his speed is only 3, so I'm going to not do that and just let him stay at first. All right, single and an RBI for Emerson. Des Moines is up 1-0 here early, as Ian Dillard has allowed 2 base runners, but only 1 out. And now facing Dale Osgood, the third baseman, who is the cleanup hitter. Pitcher's heat is the ability. This looks good for Dillard. And he rolls a 6, and 7 is 13. I think he got him on a strikeout. He did, yeah. So he strikes out Osgood with a runner on. Now this is a clutch situation. It doesn't mean that we automatically go to the clutch chart, but it's a possibility. Clutch is defined as 2 out and a runner on base. Wilkins, and at least for this game. All right, so Corby Wilkins is a left-handed, fairly talented offensive shortstop. We roll a 2, batter contact. It's a 5 plus 7, 12 on the contact table. That is a single unless, so there's these parentheses ratings on here, which I really like. If the pitcher's composure is 6 or better, he could get a ground out here. However, Ian Dillard's composure is only 2, so therefore it is still a single, and the runner advances. Let's see, Wilkins is a 4, So now we got 2 men on. Now, typically, on 2 outs, the runner can advance 2 bases, but you have to have, in order to do that, you got to have a speed of 4 or higher. Emerson was only a 3, so he could not get the extra base there. Rory Hoff, 2 out, 2 on. 1 run has already scored. We roll a 6. It's batter's power. He's a 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. That won't get it done, will it? Nope. He strikes out. And so, wow, lots of strikeouts going on here, but we got some good pitching too. So they leave 2 stranded. 1 run scores. Des Moines is up 1-0. Dillard did strike out 3, but he also allowed 3 base runners. All right, so there you go. That's a taste of Round Trip. I will go ahead and complete this game in a separate video, and you can check that out if you're so inclined. All right, thanks for watching.